This is a recreation of my basic bridal look, and by basic, I don't mean that there's anything wrong with the look or that it doesn't look pretty, but that when I have a bride who comes in for her preview and she doesn't know what she wants, other than that she wants to look like herself, she wants to look natural, she wants to feel pretty without wearing a ton of makeup, this is the kind of look that I'll do on them. It's really customizable by changing up the lashes, the lips, or the tones of the eyeshadows, but you can also make it more dramatic too, and it just looks really nice and it works out really well for my brides when they come in. So, normally to start with, I will do the skincare on my brides first before I do their eyes. I'll do the Sonia Roselli skincare collection. I'll start off with Sex Appeal as an exfoliator and then go in with the appropriate skincare products. I didn't do that on myself today because I knew I was going to be giving myself a facial that night and I didn't want to double exfoliate. And I also forgot because I'm not used to filming and I did things out of order. But to start, I used some eyeshadow primer and the Danessa Myricks concealer to go over my lid, and then I just set under the eye, under the brow and the inner third of the eye with like a bone colored shadow. Now I'm going in with a fairly neutral mid-tone brown, and I'm going to apply this all over my mobile lid as a base shadow. I'm just going to blend that out around the edges so that it's nice and soft and diffused. Once I've done that, I'm going in with a slightly lighter shade. As you can see, this one's also a little bit warmer. I'm just buffing out the edges of the shadow there. Next, I'm going to go in with that kind of mid-tone shimmery brown. It's not super shimmery or glittery. It kind of just gives it like a soft, glowy satin feel. I'm applying that all over the lid, and then I'm going over a little bit more concentrated with that lighter golden shade. I'm keeping that one a little bit down a little bit more. And then I also take that up just above onto that transition shade that I applied before. I want the whole lid to have a pretty glow to it. For liner, I'm not going to go in with a gel liner unless that's specifically requested at first. Instead, I like to go in with a shadow liner. So to start this look off, I'm going in with that dark brown that you see, and I'm laying that down as a base before I go in with the black. I apply the black a little bit, for my eye shape at least, a little bit heavier on that outer third, and then I taper it in. I bring it all the way onto the inner portion of the eye, and then I'm going to go in with that same brush that I used to apply the brown all over my lid, and I'm going to buff that out, the edges out just a little bit. And lastly, I'm going to take that really light shimmery shade and apply that on the inner third of my lid, and going up towards the brow bone. I'm going to mix those two shades, not that you could really see, but the second and third shade together, and apply that just over top the liner because the black and that dark brown don't really have a shimmer, and I wanted everything to have a shimmer. To clean up underneath the eye, I'm going in with the Sonia Roselli Water Balm on a Q-tip. I prefer to do this, especially on brides, because I think it's a little bit softer and a little bit more gentle than going in with a makeup remover wipe. Plus, I also like that it hydrates underneath the eye in preparation for concealer. So what I did just now was I prepped my skin using the Sonia Roselli Water Elixir followed by the water oil. And now I'm going in with that same concealer that I used on the lid just to cover any blemishes preemptively. I'm patting those out with the brush I'm going to use for concealer, or I'm sorry, that I'm going to use for foundation before I actually go in with the foundation. I prefer to layer my concealer in thin layers like you're going to see. So I'm going to go in several times to make sure that those spots are covered without it being cakey. For foundation, I'm mixing Face Atelier with the Sonia Roselli Water Oil and a little bit of, that was Becca, the liquid highlighter that they unfortunately discontinued. I use that on everybody because despite whatever kind of skin type they have, it still gives a really nice glow to the skin without really affecting the longevity of the foundation underneath it, or that it's mixed with, I should say. So I'm applying a thin coat of that all over my face just to really even out my skin tone. I'm not looking to really get any coverage from this, and that's why I mix those products in. Anything that I do want covered, I'm going back in with a little bit more of that Danessa Myricks concealer. This is the same concealer that I'm putting underneath my eyes. This shade matches me pretty well, as you can see. It's a little bit light under the eyes when you compare it to my dark circles, but I'm not really going in with a super light under eye concealer. I don't like that look. I think it looks pretty dated, either dated or dramatic, just kind of depending on the rest of the makeup with it. But for bridal, I definitely don't want to do, that really light under eye triangle type of thing. So I tend to go in with a concealer that pretty much matches the face. And if more brightening is still needed, I'll go in with like one shade lighter or a peach concealer just on that inner corner and on the outer corner. Definitely not across the whole under eye. Sorry, I have a cold. But to blend in, I prefer to use my fingers. I think that my fingers blend the product in really well because they're so warm and it helps to just pick up any excess product. I do not like thick layers, and neither do my clients. So just buff that in and then let it sit before I go in with the powder. Checking everything out to make sure I'm liking it so far. I'm going in with the Ben Nye Cream Blush Wheel. I'm mixing two different colors together because for some reason I can't just use anything straight as it is. And I'm also mixing those blushes with that same highlighter that I used in with the foundation. I really enjoy layering creams and powders. I think it gives nice longevity to products, especially to color that might, just a powder blush might fade, but when you have a powder blush that fades and you've got a cream blush underneath, you still have that color peeking through, and you don't completely lose your blush throughout the whole day. Now, this is same thing for bronzer and contour. I'm going in with the same Face Atelier foundation, just as you can see, quite a bit darker than my natural skin tone, and I'm using that as kind of a joint bronzer slash contour color. You can also shear this out too. I chose not to, and just to go in with just a little bit and really buff it out. You'll see that on my right cheek, this was, yeah, my left, but on my right in the video, that those couple blemishes I have are still poking through. That's totally fine. The Vanessa Meyer's concealer really dries very flat. However, as you can see, I didn't give it time to dry before I started going in. So that'll get fixed later. Now I'm going to set my under eyes and kind of my T-zone area with the Makeup Atelier loose powder. This stuff is very, very finely milled. It looks great on every skin tone, and it really is very flattering too on any kind of fine lines or wrinkles or texture, as any texture someone might have. Before I apply it underneath the eyes, I'm just going to blend them out again with my finger to make sure that I'm not, setting any creases. And then I'm going to focus mainly on like my chin, those smile lines there, and the center of my eyebrows and forehead. And then I'm going to take just whatever's left over in my hand, which isn't a lot, and super lightly I'm going to dust over the rest of my face. I really feel like my brush is barely even touching my face right now. I'm going in with just a soft bronzer color. I think this color was actually a Becca Blush Wild Honey. It's a really lovely color. I love it because it has a little bit of a red tone to it, so it kind of gives a really natural sun-kissed appearance. And I also like to take that just onto the eyes too for a neutral look like this to tie all the colors in together. I'm going to go for a highlighter. I'm doing a little bit of the Balms Mary Luminizer. I don't need a ton because I did so much of that liquid highlight and all the creams underneath it. And blush, I mixed a couple colors together to get something that was fairly neutral, a little bit of a peach and shimmery undertone to it. Or a little bit of peach undertone with a little bit of shimmer. And now those couple of blemishes that are still popping through, I'm just taking some more of that concealer, applying it only on those spots, and then I'm going to let it set before I actually start to blend it out and then cover it again. That's going to ensure that it really stays put. I did speed through the brows because nobody wants to sit here and watch me fill in my brows for, 8 minutes. But what I like to do, right now I'm going in with the ABH Dip Brow in medium brown, I think this was. I apply a little bit, I don't do a ton, I don't do a big carved out brow, and then I blend the fuck out of it. Just keep blending. Blend, blend, blend. Push your brow hairs up, Add if you need, push your brow hairs down like I'm doing now, add in little strokes, blend, 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 blend. Especially as you can see, I haven't really waxed my brows in quite a bit, so I definitely don't want to overdo it and, look like Oscar the Grouch or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep blending, applying as needed, and then to set, I'm using, I think it's a Rimmel Clear Brow Gel, and I'm going to brush the hairs up and kind of fold them back over into place, until they're into the position that I want them to be in. Now, because I did so much blending, there's going to be a little bit, almost like a brown shadow that's kind of right above. Oh yeah, and I'm taking a Q-tip to get rid of any excess because, again, I don't want it to be too heavy. But once I'm done with that, and once I'm done with the brow gel, that's when I'm going to go in with just a little bit of the leftover concealer that I have on a brush. I'm not like doing a full carve out or anything, just to take out like some of that extra shadow smudginess that kind of went up above my brows from all the blending. So again, clear brow gel, brushing them up and then brushing them over. Also, I'm going to apologize now for the audio in this. I'm dumb. I don't know what I'm doing with this stuff at all, editing at all. My audio keeps messing up, so I'm attempting to do just one long audio. It's not going very well, but I don't know what else to do at this point because I got to fix it. So see here, I'm just using that leftover concealer, just going over and under a little bit, just to make sure that everything still looks the same tone it's supposed to, and that it doesn't have that brown smudginess to it. Now I'm finally going to go in, after doing my brows, and pat out just the edges of that concealer. Now that I gave it time to set, you can see it's not really moving. It's covering well, and now to match it to the rest of the cheeks, I'm just going to use that same brush I did before and just pat, pat, pat the color on top. I don't even think I added any more to my brush actually, although you could. And it, blended in seamlessly, no problems. So I curled my lashes and then I went in with 2 coats of mascara. This one is, I think, the CoverGirl Hypnotize. And I cut this part out because I was fucking struggling today doing these lashes. Yeah. So that just whole part got skipped. However, tip, as you can see here, if you're doing your mascara, you're having a hard time, go in with a clean spoolie and then use your finger as a shield to get rid of any clumps. So once I got those lashes from hell on, and they look like absolute shit right now, but it's fine. It's okay. It's just a video. I removed some of the lip mask that I put on earlier, and I'm going in with a lip liner. This one is by Face Atelier, and I'm going to go in on top of that with some Lime Life lipsticks. The first one I'm going to do is Not Telling 100. It's a bullet lipstick. It's a popular nude that I've used, and I wanted to make it look a little bit less pink, so I went in with a Viseart lip oil on top. It's more of a mauve color. After that, I went in with another popular color called Wedding Cake. Obviously, popular, actually very popular at weddings. It's kind of like a modernized metallic liquid lipstick. It's like a mid-tone to slightly deeper pink. It's got a bit of a sparkle to it without being glossy. It's really, really pretty. And then finally, I went in with Devil's Food Cake, which is a dark, kind of deep red, just to give you a couple of different lip options. But as I said, this is super customizable, very easy, and a really great starter look. Have a nice day. Bye.